In a world where creativity meets the digital age, one agency stands out from the rest. Welcome to Delphine Legacy Media. We are a team of passionate experts and creatives dedicated to elevating your brand to new heights.
I learned so much today. It was really inspiring hearing everyone speak about all their different experiences and getting together like authors and screenwriters. And I learned a lot from this.
Their creativity and expertise are second to none. But what sets us apart? We tailor our services to fit your unique needs. Whether you're an author, a business owner, or an artist, our services include interviews, media tours, book tours, and speaking engagements, all designed to put your brand in the spotlight. Are you an artist that seeks to obtain more media, headline your own book tour, or adapt a film? Or perhaps you need media training to best prepare yourself. Whatever it may be, we can manage it. Picture your brand in the limelight. Picture your brand in the limelight. Your vision realized. At Delphine Legacy Media, we're partners in your success. Ready to take your brand to the next level? Contact us today. Delphine Legacy Media, where creativity meets success.
They're not gonna let me in the room. I'm gonna make my own room. For me, this was always going to be what I was going to do. I had told my mother at 12 that I was going to move to Atlanta.
My mic was
I was going to be this full-time authoress, and I was going to just tell stories.
All right, Sadé, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey. My name is Sadé. I am a personal trainer. Well, I really like to call myself more of a wellness coach, but kind of in the same space, and an artist, a multidisciplinary artist as well.
Awesome. So today I wanted to kind of talk about your pathway into fashion, but also personal fitness and health, because the goal of this segment is to talk with individuals who are in two different pathways but are creating careers that mold the two together. So health being representative of the health and earth being representative of the healthy bodies and wellness, and then water being representative of creative arts. So I remember this was like in Georgia Southern when I first met you. Like it was kind of briefly through Taylor. Um but I do remember you was with Visage, the fashion organization on campus. And I think we kind of like became Instagram friends or something like that. But I just remember seeing your fashion and like your art on your page. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Because you had like such a meaningful message behind it. So could you kind of, if you can, reflect and go back on what sparked that way back then?
Like what got me started in fashion?
Yeah, like what made you want to create fashion with a meaningful purpose? Because I think your if I'm not mistaken, it had like a mental health message behind it. I think I remember. Yeah. So what sparked all that?
I think just so much of what I do circles back to my own mental struggles and like growing up in a family where there's five of us in the household, but it's very apparent that three of us have anxiety. So there's like the two holding it down. But it was just kind of like I got to a point where I felt like I would sometimes say like my anxiety was like my superpower. That even though it held me back in a lot of ways, there were a lot of things that it kind of gave me or gifted me. So like I had a sense of empathy that I felt like other people might not have had because with being as anxious as I was hyper aware of other people's feelings around me and things like that. So I kind of used because I'd been in fashion before college, but before that it was just like just making cute clothes. And then in college was when I kind of decided like I wanted to use it as an avenue to kind of like put on display things that I would normally hide. Like thinking of your anxiety and things that you're dealing with mentally as things that you're supposed to keep secret, but instead using it as like this is just a part of who I am and I'm going to express how this makes me feel and what it's like to live with this.
I like that. It's kind of like using your own personal experiences too, like because like they say all the time, art is an imitation of life. So what you're experiencing in your own personal life reflects itself in your art. That's really cool though.
Yeah.
Um, what was your first art piece? Like your very first fashion? Like, do you remember what it looked like or?
Oh, the first ever piece I made was like, I was spending the summer at my grandma's house and I went to Joann's or something like that, I think. And just got like one of those little patterns that come in like the little packet. And it was like, I think I hid it away for years and then came back and was like, whoa, this is horribly made. Like this is so low quality, but it was just like a pair of like spandexy pants, like those pants everyone was wearing in college that made the booty pop. Like everybody was
Mhm.
talking about those pants. So it was a pair of those. But I think my first actual technical like good quality piece was probably in my first fashion class. So it
Mm.
wasn't until I actually like got into an actual studio where I could like put something together that wouldn't fall apart.
Okay, that's cool. Because I think for me, when I picture like trying to put something together fashion wise, I'm like, how in the world do people do this? Like the sewing, the how do you know what fabric to choose? It's just so much that goes into it. So hearing somebody who's into that design and like knows exactly how to create something out of nothing, I'm always just fascinated, like really, really fascinated.
I try to
Um,
show people like because people are like, no, this doesn't make sense to me. So sometimes I'll try to show people on their own clothes. I'm like, do you see this line? This is
mm.
its own piece. Like we cut this little piece out. You know, like it's a lot of. I mean, even us sometimes like we'll measure something and the math just don't math. Like it's a very very complicated process sometimes.
How long does it on average? Because I know like different pieces take different timelines, I guess. But like, how long on average does one like shirt or a pair of pants take?
I mean, if it's not going to be too detailed or too intense, you can go like Project Runway style and you can knock something out in a day or two. But when you want to get more advanced, it can take like, you know, it can get up to like you said, like it depends on the piece. It can get up to like those Met Gala pieces take like, they'll say like 10,000 hours of just beating alone. But like for something super simple, like even if I wanted to like recreate the top I was just wearing, that could probably be like, knock it out in a little day, get it done.
Do you like make your own clothes a lot, or
Um,
like wear your own clothes a lot?
yeah, and especially I'll upcycle things a lot too because it's cheaper and it's faster. So like I'm really big on thrifting because like most of the time if I go into a mall, I'm like if I can make this, I cannot justify spending this much money on it in the store. So I'm bigger on like going to like Goodwill or some sort of thrift store and picking out something that has a good base and then taking it home, cutting it up, painting on it, turning it into more exactly what I want it to be.
That is so innovative. Like really. I'm just mind blown. Like hearing the simple process of it. I'm like, wow, you can just look at something and think, oh yeah, I can make that. Like that's okay. Now I'm gonna shift gears a little bit because I've always wondered, like, when people have such creative talents, what kind of outlet does that serve for them? Because I've talked with people who are again, in fashion who are painters. Because I think, do you paint?
Yeah.
Okay, so you paint, like people who are painters, just all types of expressive art. And a lot of times, as you kind of mentioned earlier, it's a way to kind of heal and cope with whatever is going on in their daily lives. So, again, talking about healthy bodies, you've transitioned or kind of infused the two with personal training and art. What was that pathway like? Like going from this person who's known as a fashionista or like, this creative person and then coming up and like, oh yeah, I do personal training too. Like I can do
Yeah.
it all. What was that pathway like?
I feel like everybody's story nowadays is like back to COVID because it definitely COVID. This COVID is what brought this on. Because at that time I had just got my first big girl job, which was not in my field. Because when you are in any form of art, it's hard to just like graduate with a degree in it and go get a job in it. Like we all dream that that's what's going to happen. We're just designing the next day, and that's not really how it goes. So I had a big girl job at a call center, and I was miserable. Oh my gosh, I was absolutely miserable. I hated it, and I was like, I really need to figure out how to get out of this because I know that jobs in the art industry, everyone that I've been talking to so far was either like, oh, we can't really give you a job because you don't have enough experience yet, or it was like, yes, but the pay is going to be really low because it's like seamstress or like internship kind of vibes. So I started trying to figure out like what else am I into that I feel like can stabilize me. And I had started my own fitness journey at that time as a means of like giving me something to be happy about since I hated the job so much. And I was just talking to more people because I know someone who paints and designs and she's a trainer. I'm like,
Okay.
how does this all exist in one person? So I started talking to her and I started talking to other people from Georgia Southern who were training since I'd always had an interest in sports and just being fit for myself. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this out and see if I want to use this as like a day job and keep doing fashion and art and things like that and like use that as a day job until my art blows up. But then once I really got into it, I was like, oh, I'm in love with this too. So like I don't want this to just be like a hold me over until I'm like, I want to do both forever now. So that was totally on accident and I didn't know that I was gonna love both as much as I do.
That is beautiful. I think from my perspective too, as someone who is in health and also in arts, for a long time it's like art was kind of like this hobby type deal. I was kind of on the flip side where my health, like public health is like my main focus. So nonprofit work, youth advocacy, all that good stuff, that's like the 9 to 5. And I come home or like after hours I'm writing, I'm storytelling. But I noticed that a lot of creatives who kind of have that in between space find it hard to focus on like their actual like creativeness. Sometimes we lose ourselves in the actual 9 to 5 in the work life because that's what's steady, that's what's bringing in the income. So that's where a lot of our energy is going. What does that look like for you trying to balance both? Do you find yourself coming home like from personal fitness or like doing training, like, oh, I don't have time to paint today. I want to paint, but I don't have the energy to paint. Like, does that ever come up?
Yeah. Unfortunately. It did more when I was actually working at a gym. Because it's like, first of all, I was commuting to the gym I was working from. So I'm driving like 35, 45 minutes to work. Sometimes, depending on what time I'm coming home, it can take me like an hour to get back home. So after spending 10 to 12 hours in the gym and then making that commute home, I do not care about this paintbrush. So it just like, it was really hard then. And now that cause like I'm 3 or 4 months into having quit my job and just been like, I'm gonna do this personal training thing for myself. So now it's more so like, I haven't had as much time with painting and fashion recently because I was building a site and I was figuring out how to make the personal training sustainable on its own, which it felt creative in its own way too, because it's like I'm building something from the ground up. So now that I'm doing this for myself, it is more like, okay, I've just programmed 6 clients. So I've been on this computer for like 3 hours straight Now I'm about to go paint for a little bit, and then I can come back and program my other clients. So now I'm blessed because I'm so much more in charge of what my days look like, and I can use painting again or fashion again as like an outlet rather than trying to figure out how am I going to be able to force myself to keep this spark after corporate America just drained.
I feel that. And it sounds like you created a freedom for yourself that a lot of people are on the search for. So what was that process of moving from your like from the gym and being like a typical traditional 9 to 5 work to saying, oh, actually, I think I can do this better on my own? Because a lot of creatives, I feel, don't like rigid structures. We like to just flow at our own pace, right? So what gave you that spark to like say, okay, I can do this? What was
I've always wanted to do that. Like since I was young, even in college, like I've always known I never knew it was going to be training that took me there, but I've always known that I wanted to work for myself. Like I always knew I wanted to be in charge of what I'm doing.
Okay. It's just, and you're finally in that space now where you can own what you always seen in yourself. You're living in the prayer, basically. Like
Yes.
at first she was like, I'm seeing myself as this entrepreneur. I'm seeing myself as the person who creates my own schedule, creates and has my own clients. And you're actually in that. Like that's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Yes. It took a lot, but we're here. And it's still scary. Like I feel like I watched a lot of people like always on social media talking about eventually you're gonna have to take the leap, you're gonna have to quit your job. And I would look at that moment as like, oh, okay, when I get there, it's gonna be like, this is amazing. But low key, like I quit my job and I got busier. So it's like, so now it's scary because I feel like with that anxiety and that overthinking, I always have that. Yes, I'm grateful and it's definitely a blessing to be here, but there's still always that little voice in the back of your head. It's like, go harder to make sure you don't have to go back. Or like, what if you have to tell everyone that you got a job again? Like those little things. It's not like super glamorous like I thought with the way they painted it on social media. And I realized, no, it's still a lot of hard work, but now your hard work is not, it doesn't feel like it's just going to somebody else. Like it's going for like whoever your boss is, if that makes sense. It's for you.
Awesome. Have you ever like, because I know, of course, these are two different fields, but has there been an opportunity where you were able to have both your art and your health in the same actual space, like sharing your art as a means to helping clients with physical health? Like, is that something that has came up, or is that something that you dream of doing, like combining the two in that way, or do you just like to have them both as separate, if that makes sense?
It does combine itself. So for me, what really sets me apart as a trainer is that I'm not just like a hand you your workouts and your nutrition plan and you go kind of thing. I also have a specialization in behavior change. So I'm really, really big on helping my clients with the mental health aspect of things. And so a lot of them, I kind of guide them through activities of using art to help them with their mental health space. So like, for example, I have one client, she has to sit she works in a really small hospital already, but then her desk space is tiny. And if she does want to get up and walk throughout the day, it's only like 2 floors in her center. So she just feels really trapped in her job and gets anxiety at her desk. So we have like this arts and crafts desk anxiety survival sheet for her. And it's just like a bunch of like artistic activities she can do right there at her desk to kind of release and break up time. So there's a lot of little spaces where I get to incorporate both and talk about both.
I love that because in my head, I'm wondering like that would be cool, but like hearing you say that's actually how you help your clients is beautiful. What is one of the artistic activities that you provide or like suggest for her?
Origami. So she just like, it sounds so crazy, like just literally folding up paper, but like origami, or there's like little tiny hand needle sewing projects that you can do. Because studies show that doing things with your hands, or even like cooking, like if you go home and cook and things like that, doing something with your hands really helps your brain. So I try to get her from scrolling or just literally sitting there like staring at the wall to be able to do something creative with her hands. So origami and like sewing, that definitely helps her kind of forget, like she'll look back up and realize it's been an hour, like, and so now time is going faster and she can get home sooner.
That's really cool. That's so cool. I feel like I would need that in my own workspace because sometimes sitting at a desk, I'm like, oh my God, it's nothing to do. And I'll get up and I'll walk around like a lot. And they're like, hey, what's going on? You good? I'm like, it's boring in here. I need to get some fresh air or something. Like,
that
change the feng shui. I don't know.
Even at the call center, I'm like in between calls, I'm like pacing back and forth, and they're looking at me, and I'm just like, I'm going insane. If I literally just stay in this spot, I'm going to be insane.
I feel that. Even too, like, I think implementing arts into wellness spaces is kind of like a cure on its own because like corporate America, typical jobs, it can become very, very stagnant. And it's known to just have that dead time, like that downtime where you're just not doing anything. You're, trying to find something to do, make yourself look busy. But if we incorporated art more on like a more general level, so in that downtime, you have like, oh, let's have a group meeting, but not about any tasks or topics. Let's talk about art. Let's talk about what makes us creative outside of work. I think that would actually help this what's the word this dread that we feel from like everyday work. It would really be a cool tool. Have you ever thought about expanding that, like working with different companies to help them implement creative into their wellness routines, or is that not something you've thought about?
Yeah, it's definitely something I want to expand on, being able to combine both worlds. Because I feel like you said, like everything is so rinse and repeat at most jobs. And so I feel like when people start to incorporate that creativity, those artistic things, because I think most people see themselves as not being an artist. Like, unless you've been an artist forever, you don't think of yourself as a creative person. And most jobs kind of want you to come in and like knock out a task list and go. So they don't ask you to creative problem solve, like even just on a day-to-day basis. So like the way I can sometimes see people's perception of themselves change when they can actually put together something that's like, oh, this doesn't look half bad. Like I might be a little artist. So it's like, I definitely want to be able to keep combining the two on a bigger scale. Like one thing that I'm praying for in the future is having a wellness workshop, so that like I'm lighting up, because that's like a big dream of mine, is to have like a women's wellness workshop where we can explore both. Like we can have yoga classes and art classes all in the same space, and just kind of like have a nutrition class as well, and we're painting and we're doing all these things, and kind of explore the way creating helps your mental health, and your mental health is so related to your physical health.
I absolutely love that. That's beautiful, honestly, because I love what you said about every person is somewhat an artist, like in their own way,
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't realize that because we think artistry as like Van Gogh paintings, and it's like, oh, I can't do that, so I'm not an artist. Or we think, in your case, sewing and making clothes like from scratch, and like people are thinking, oh no, that's not me. But simply like being a visionary is creative. Like having a vision, like I want to build this company from the ground up. That's art. That's being innovative. That's knowing how to create something out of nothing. Or even simply being a gardener. Like that's ways to incorporate health and wellness into creative arts. You're bringing something that was once a seed, you're planting it, you're nurturing it, you're creating something in a sense, right? So in that way, it boosts a person's confidence level. How has art played a role in your own confidence?
Ooh, that's a fun question. Um, I think especially when I was working in jobs I didn't like, or like even like thinking back in college when I was like in crazy relationships like we all were, being able to come home and make something that only existed in my head I'm like, why am I tripping over this man if I can do this? Or why am I tripping over this job if this comes from my hands? Like, it just kind of shows me my power, I guess, in that sense. It shows me what I'm capable of, even when I have my moments where I feel like I'm not good at whatever it is that I'm doing at work, or I'm not, like, maybe like if I feel, we all have those moments, especially in our 20s. It's like feeling like we're failing, or we don't know if we're going where we need to go. And sometimes just like sitting down and making something from scratch, whether it's good or bad, even if it comes out like, and it's not my best piece, to me, it's still so much confidence and gratification out of the fact that I even brought it to life, that I even was willing to try, and I have something to show for that.
I think that's a lot of what people are missing because they don't know they have that power inside of them. It's, if you've never tapped into it, it's like it's just gonna lay dormant forever until you finally ignite that spark and you're like, whoa, I'm a creator.
Exactly.
What is your creative process like? Are there any songs, music, or something that really stimulates your art? If you're like in your own zone, you're like, I got to have this song on. I got to listen to this artist while I paint, while I make clothes. Is there any artists on the playlist that are just doing it for you?
I think it shifts all the time. Mostly R&B, just it just brings that little vibe out of me. I feel like right now, Smino is a big one, like, because he's just so, like, I like artists who, like, I would struggle to define their genre if I'm telling somebody about them. Like, if I'm trying to put you on, I can't just flat out be like, oh, he's a rapper. Like, he is a rapper, but it's spicy. It's like a razzle dazzle.
He's so colorful. Like, he's very colorful. Yes. When I think of Smino, I think of color. Like, just a bunch of splatters everywhere. You don't know how to define it. It's just there. You're supposed to analyze it, love it, and move on.
Exactly. So he's a big one for me. Right now, definitely Childish Gambino, because I just bought tickets. I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. Who else? Yeah, I think it's like any form of R&B. Like, sometimes when I really, really want to lock in, I will go on Spotify and find an R&B playlist that has very few people on it that I know. Like, I will on purpose try to play new music while I'm creating, because it just wakes up new pieces of my brain and inspires me in new ways. Because sometimes I can get stuck in that rut of like playing the same songs over and over. So definitely when I really want to lock in on something, or if I'm stuck, I'm like, let's find my vibe, but new people in my vibe.
Do you find yourself creating in response to a song? Like, just say you're kind of just freestyling and the song is given on a gritty but soulful. Do you create that same level of art based on what you hear, or is it like, how does that work?
Sometimes it's so funny because, like, it won't be like I'll change the what's in front of me according to what I'm listening to, but I might think I'm starting on one painting, and then I have the playlist going and it puts me in this certain mood to where I'm like, this playlist goes better with this piece. And so now I have to switch gears and pull it, because artists, we know that we have like 1,000 unfinished projects sitting in the house. So it's like I might start on one and the playlist is like, really, I would like to see you work on this. So then I have to go grab one of the other unfinished things out the vault and kind of change gears.
That's cool. That's really cool. I feel like too, when I'm writing, I see that same thing. I think it's a little different coming from like a writer's perspective than it is like art, like painting and fashion designing, because for me, I'm listening to words and my goal is to create words. So it's like if I hear Smino say something like, I don't know, I get my soul from the source. I get my food from the source. I'm like, I could write about some trees today. I can write about like, sitting outside in the rain. It's just different ways that it stimulates because I'm hearing the words, right? But also doing wellness and mindful activities. If I'm listening to like a really soulful playlist, Cleo Soul, when I'm doing yoga, it's like, she that girl.
Top tier.
And it's like she's kind of navigating my movements as if I was in a guided yoga session.
Yeah,
Listening to the words, it's like, okay, I'm gonna embody those lyrics. I'm gonna move to those lyrics and just kind of feel my body sway as I go.
yeah.
Um, do you have a certain gym playlist that you just,
Ooh.
it's your go-to, or gym artist on your playlist that is your go-to?
Right now, mm, right now, this rapper named No Big Deal is like huge for my gym playlist. I'm starting to incorporate a lot more Christian rappers into my playlist. Because I've been trying to, I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's because I just moved gyms. I just switched gyms. But the gym is normally my relaxing place, my get away from anxiety. But I think because I've switched gyms now, going to the gym is giving me anxiety right now. So having the Christian playlist going right now, like having No Big Deals music going right now, is so big for just relaxing me, reminding me like, girl, you do this, like this is where you belong, you know what I mean, this is your space. So that's really big on my playlist right now. In the gym, I can't really think of anybody else yet, because that's a big one right now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you have like certain like movements or like your go-to, what's your go-to favorite gym workout? Like anytime you just don't know what to do and you go into the gym and you're like, well, I know what works for me today. I know what I can always do. What's your favorite gym workout?
I'm going to deadlift every day if I could.
Okay.
I, I feel
Strong
like that's
woman.
the one.
Like that's what it
Yes, everybody that all my trainer friends, like I know a lot of them who are like, oh, I hate deadlifts, and I love them because they are so hard to do. So they just make me feel really powerful when I do them. So I love deadlifts, and then I'm big on like if I really don't know what to do, but I know I just want to move my body. I'm big on like a HIIT workout, so something high intensity, just because I feel like with high intensity workouts, I love to say I've used up so much energy in this workout. I don't have energy to panic or be anxious anymore today. Like, we don't burnt it all out, so we don't have the time or the space to be anxious no more. So those are like, that's like, if it's weightlifting, deadlifts are my go-to. If it's just like a do whatever you want kind of day, it's gonna be something really high intensity.
That's a really interesting perspective that I think I'm gonna use. Like, okay, I did all this in the gym today. I should not have any more energy to
We
be
don't got no
anxious.
more. We don't have no more.
Like you let it all out. So whatever is left is what's well, right? Um
Exactly.
I'm definitely gonna use that. But speaking of that, so the idea of transmuting energy, do you utilize the endorphins that you get from the gym or like that boost of energy to fuel your art? Like after you leave the gym, do you feel more inspired to create, or is there like a crash down after you leave the gym?
No, I definitely feel more. Yeah, I think the high I get from finishing a good workout is the same high I get from finishing a piece. It's
Mm.
like you just did that for real. Like, you know what I mean? Like, especially because sometimes in the gym, it's just like when I have a max day coming up, or if I have a new lift, or I'm supposed to go heavier that day or something like that, I look at it the same way I do before I'm about to start a new piece, because I'll look at it like with all this self doubt, like, okay, am I sure I can do this? Do I have all the skills? Do I know the form? Do I know the techniques? Do I know all this? And then I get it done and I'm like, doubting for what? Like, it
Mm.
don't stop me from being scared again the next time it all happens. But it's that same kind of rush of like, if it's placed in front of me, it's only there because either A, I'm supposed to learn something from it, or B, I'm about to absolutely kill it. And I'm kind of interested in either of those results anyway. So getting home from the gym, I'm just like, whether it's art or if I have clients to program for, or, I need to like get some posts ready for social media, whatever it is, I'm just like, let's do this. Like, let's keep going harder and like keep seeing where I can take my crafts.
I love that. I like how you also touched on the ways you approach your doubt. Because I feel like that's just something humans in general have, but especially being a creative. Like this world for some reason does not make enough room for art. So it's like we're constantly in this loop, especially if we are not where we want to be per se. There's this doubt of like, oh, I'm never gonna make it as an artist. Oh, I'm never gonna, get whatever it is that we desire in the artistic world. So what are some doubts that you have around your art?
Um, I think a big one right now is how is like just if I'm on the right path, but I know that's like preaching to the choir. That's everybody's thing right now. It's like, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? Especially, it can be hard for me because it's like I paint and I design clothes, and within the past 2 years or so, I started customizing sneakers, and it's just like, and
That's
then
cool.
maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I accidentally found out I can make charm bracelets. So it's just like, it can be difficult. I think like that biggest doubt right now is just like, what's my thing? You know what I mean? I keep boxing myself in with my doubts because I feel like a lot of artists that you see on social media who are big, like they have a lot of followers and they're getting a lot of attention and monetizing social media, they kind of have a very distinct style to where almost everything looks like that. Like you can point out a piece that's theirs from a lineup. And I'm like, I don't know if my art is as distinct as that just yet. And I'm still trying to continue to play with it until I get there. Because I can resonate with a piece, but my doubts are, do other people resonate enough or do other people connect it enough with me? If all of that made sense.
It does make sense. And I feel that on a spiritual level, honestly. Before we get into it, because I kind of want to ask you some questions on like the age of content creation right now, this idea of promoting yourself as an artist or as a small entrepreneur and like gaining people to see you, basically like gaining clients. Before we get into that, I'm gonna take a quick break, like 15 seconds, real quick, and I'll come back and we'll start the conversation. Sounds good?
Okay, perfect.
All right, cool.
On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 stars are leaping, 11 drummers drumming, 10 ladies dancing.
That's the problem. You don't have a choice.
One thing I didn't do was
It don't matter. The fact that you gotta start the sentence was the only thing I didn't do. Does he not get that? The only thing I didn't do. That's the point.
Yeah.
Get out, man.
Yeah, I mean, I argued that she never give me credit for what
I didn't.
Okay.
What is? How my journey with being a parent evolved, I would have never even guessed that. I would have never said that was going to happen a day in my life where I would not enjoy being married, where I would not enjoy being a mother.
We're at my crib, just chilling. We're gonna let y'all see this flood at Christmas.
You know, we tried real hard to do this just right, but no, they wouldn't let us. They just wouldn't let us. We wanted this to be perfect, but you know. Hey. Delphi. Delphi.
Bring a fight, Delphi.
Okay. Are we good to go now?
Hmm.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure y'all can hear me. Awesome. So where we left off at, we were talking about the age of content creation because that's where we at right now, especially being an entrepreneur, being a creative, trying to get your name out there, trying to draw people into what you're doing. How does that work out for you? Is content creation something that you're big on doing? Like, is social media a tool that you use often to gain clients, or is it word of mouth? Like, what are your processes for promotion?
Yeah, most of my clients who find me for either avenues find me on socials. So I'm trying to be consistent. It's so hard, but it is a big part of my life right now, definitely. I'm like try to post like 4 or 5 times a week on both pages. So it's a big part of the routine right now.
And I feel like something that's constraining too is this idea of having a niche, right? You
Yeah.
have to hone in
Yeah.
on one particular thing and just go with it. But it's like when you have multi hyphenate people who are into the arts, who are into wellness, who are into literally every single thing, it's like, well, should I make a page for everything? And like, how do I figure out how to create content for every single avenue that I like? And I think it gets overwhelming sometimes because it's
Yeah.
like, everybody just has this one thing that they do. Like, oh, I'm a comedian, so I'm just gonna post funny videos all the time. That's cool, but like, what happens if you just everything all in one, and you don't want to confuse the people on what you're doing, right?
Yes, that's what I'm still trying to figure out. Is like I don't want to come off as this person who's like, so do you even know what you want? You know what I mean? Like I don't want I don't want to come off as this person who's like still trying to figure out what she even likes or what spaces she even wants to exist in. But at the same time, it's like to to leave any like I have a hit out on the word niche. I'm like that word
Mm,
upsets me deeply because people want us all like none of us exist in a box of anything. And so it's like while I don't want to look super confusing, at the same time I don't want to leave out any pieces of me because they all make me this whole. Like my daily life really is all these different things, and so I want people to be able to connect with the whole of me rather than me having to like consistently advertise this one piece of me and they connect with that piece of me and then I'm hiding like 5 other unique facets of my being.
that's real. Something
Yeah.
that makes me think of that is the quote that Issa Rae used. You a fan of Issa Rae?
I
Insecure.
love Issa Rae. What?
Yeah, I knew it was something. Like I knew it. I
Yeah.
knew it. But like that episode when she was talking with her mom, she was like, I just got my hand in like too many pots, basically. And she was trying to figure out, like, I like working with, the youth. I want to do the block parties. I want to start, being an event plan, like all these different things. And it's like, well, you got your hand in too many pots. But
Yeah.
in my eyes, I've always seen that as being a good thing. Like, being able to know how to create basil and thyme and rosemary, but like putting it all in one garden because it's gonna flourish all together at some point, right? And so
Right.
this idea that you're kind of like this human octopus and you're able to challenge and do any and everything all at once is a gift in itself, right? And if
I
I feel like
agree.
Issa has shown us that.
That is. Because then it's like that's I have 2 people that I work with to help me on my social media and we kind of talk about like the goal is to make people fall in love with the person so
Mm,
that it's like whatever the person does we will gravitate to that. So that's why it's like if Issa Rae is making wine, I'm buying the wine. Like I don't care what she does. If she came out tomorrow and was like, I have an underwear line, guess
yep.
what panties I'm gonna wear? Like it's I'm gonna do whatever Issa Rae says because I resonate with her as a person. So kind of like trying to build a brand where it's like I like you, and so if you are putting your stamp on it, then I know what type of quality and what type of like messaging comes with it because it's attached to you.
That's powerful. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that I'm still trying to work on myself. Like, how do I get people to see me? Like, I have the arts, but the arts is kind of like on the surface sometimes. I want to like show you where the art actually came from.
Yeah. It's hard because I feel like I don't I don't even be wanting to be as vulnerable and show my life on social all the time. Like it be certain weeks where I'm like, dang, if I want to stay on schedule, I have to go record. But the way I feel right now, I'm not even accepting people's invitations out, much less getting on a camera. So it's like trying to show that while still trying to like have your boundaries and not just kind of project your whole life to this screen of people that I'm like, I don't even know who's seeing this. I don't know what you think when you see this. Like, I don't know if you're taking what I'm saying out of context. Like, it's a whole new level of exposure that our generation has to deal with.
It is, especially being like, it's like people are craving authenticity these days, right? That's the thing. We're craving
Yeah,
authenticity. You want the vulnerability. You want to see the real you, and it's like, but do you really? Because
right?
it gets chaotic.
Because the internet can be mean. Like, the internet can be mean, and they can love negative things more than authentic things. Like, they want
Hmm.
something that's gonna give them something to talk about. What Carisha say? Very much something to talk about, and that's what
Hmm.
they really want. Like they say authenticity, but I feel like I see people more so gravitate towards like some of the same things over and over again. Really,
I feel like it's a buzzword these days. Just like making it seem, it's like really weird. It's this illusion. Like the facades are the authenticity. Like that's the authentic content, and
yeah,
it's like, but it's not real though.
exactly. I'm not this high energy every day. Like, so I feel like I made a video one time and I never posted it because I was like, I don't even know if they'll like this. But I remember making a video one time where I told myself I was gonna film that day as I went fabric shopping, and I literally started the video. I was like, I don't even feel like it today, but y'all could still come fabric shopping with me. And I kept that attitude through the whole video. I was like, y'all want authenticity? But then
Mhm.
I never posted it because I was like, dang, what if it's not like, what if the people are like, okay, because where's the bubbly Sade? Like,
I think that perception is like we get so caught up in our heads trying to figure out like how do people perceive me. So,
yeah.
question: do you feel like there's a gap in how people perceive you versus how you perceive yourself?
Oh, yes.
Mm.
A big one.
Mm.
A
What's the
huge
gap?
gap. I feel like, so one thing that really made me recognize this gap is recently I met some trainers who have a gym near my house and they host a boot camp, and I went to their boot camp and I'm talking to them and they're talking about like how much potential I have and how good I'm doing at what I'm already doing, and like how I need to just step my confidence up if I want to be better. And I'm like, this is crazy because I just met you, but every time I met someone throughout my life in the art space, they've all said the same thing about me. So now I
Mm.
see like meeting new people in the training space now in this more recent time in my life. And everyone's looking at me and everyone's saying, you're so talented. You're so good at what you do. You're so this, you're so this, you're so this. And the but for everyone is you have to step up and believe it yourself. Like everyone can kind of see on me that I don't see those things in myself sometimes. So that's something I'm definitely working on, is closing that gap. It's like, because I was telling my husband, I was like, I cannot keep walking around letting other people think I'm fire than I think I am. Like
Yeah.
that's to me. Like I'm the one who lives with me every day, so only I can really even know how fine I am. So if other people are saying it more than I'm saying it, something's wrong.
Mm. And I think that's something that is a challenge almost because it's like I want to step into your shoes so I can see me from your lens because for some
Yes,
reason I can't see it from my own lens, and
exactly.
it becomes a cyclical nature of like, okay, how do you see me? Let me go back and change this. Okay, do you see me correctly now? Okay, let me go back and fix it because it's like trying to figure out how to align the two, and it can get a lot very overwhelming, very
Yeah,
overwhelming.
definitely.
So speaking of perception and just this, I don't know, just all overall being of creativity and wellness. For those who are struggling with perceiving themselves as an artist or whatever they desire, what is your advice to them? Being that you are in so many different spaces and you're finding your confidence in each space, what is something you would give to people who are having trouble with seeing themselves as this, you know, this multi-hyphenate person?
Like, so advice for people to accept all the facets of them, or ooh, I think one thing that helped me was figuring out the why. Like what, because even if we do 7 different things, I think there is one really deep, I guess, purpose or motive behind all of those facets. And so I would say, like, what is the root? Like, spend some time with yourself journaling and figuring out what the root of why you do these things is. And even if you have to break down all 7 and like journal out and be like, okay, what is the reason why I do this one? What's the reason behind this one? And even as you do that, I think you'll start to find all these connecting threads behind all of them. And so, because I mean, I had people look at me crazy when I said I wanted to be a trainer, and they've all known me for art for so long. And even still, sometimes people struggle to trust that I know what I'm doing in like a more science-based field. And when they get into it with me and they actually start working with me, they see that it's the things I talk about in the wellness space are so similar to the things I talk about in the creative space. And for me, that link through all of it is mental health. The link through all of it is helping people tap into their inner power and create the life that they want to live, be that person that they want to be. And so I think, yeah, that's my biggest advice is just kind of like sit down and figure out the why behind each of these things, and you'll find those threads that connected. And then it's like I could care less now what a person says about, like, I don't see how a trainer can be a designer or how because I know it's deeper than that. Like, it's not just if fashion design stopped being a thing tomorrow, I would be figuring out another way, another avenue to help people with their mental health. Like, it would be that root cause that would still keep me going, even if my industries stopped existing.
I love that, especially that ending part where you're like, if fashion just decided to stop, you would still have your reason, because I think they're just showing how much importance it how important it is to have an inner why, not just an external why, like, oh yeah, I want to make more money, I want people to see me, I want status, I want validation, because those things can fade, like literally in the blink of an eye. It could be gone tomorrow. But if you never have, or if you never even sit down to figure out, okay, who is inside of this soul, like what does she truly want, what do they truly desire, and figuring that out, is like you can do anything at that point, because it's always going to come from your core. That's beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, I have enjoyed this conversation.
This
I
is
feel
good.
like I want to talk some more, but I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, we might need to wrap it up.
But this was good. This was good.
It was. So, is there anything else you would like to share before we leave? What can people find you? I know we kind of put some tags here and there, but just kind of let people know where they can find you.
Yes. For fitness, all things wellness, fitness, mental health, you can find on Instagram at On Edge Wellness. And then for all of my artsy fartsy stuff, you can find me on Instagram at On Edge Art Studios.
Awesome. So, y'all, that was our conversation, our first episode of When Earth and Water Mix with Sadé. I hope y'all learned a lot on how to cultivate all your passions into one, and how to make them, into the life that you desire, right? So, I will see y'all next month, second Sunday. And yeah, everybody have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
So I came up with the title Ebony of Hearts because ebony is almost like the word cookie. I came out with a book called Cookie back in 2011. In the 70s, cookie was like the